Ladies and gentlemen, another tutorial for everybody. Glad to have everyone back. Go ahead and smash that like button if you enjoy the tutorials thus far. I'm going to go ahead and leave a link in the description below to the previous part to this tutorial, kind of leading us up to this point. It was about 40 minutes long. I did let the game run for a little bit here, as you can all tell. I'm getting a lot of requests for a tutorial showing kind of how to handle it as the population begins to creep up, and that's, for the most part, what we have going on here. I'm going to quickly go over the few things that I did do in between the ending of the last tutorial and the starting of course, this tutorial, and it wasn't really that much. As you can see, all of our buildings are starting to upgrade. I did add another node here to our elementary school because I was getting complaints regarding there's a lot of students here in the city that aren't going to school, so I did do that. I went ahead and the first order of business was to add our clinic, which I ended with last episode, as well as our fire station and our police station. So this is what I kind of centralized them over in this little area here. And I added one more wind tower or a turbine tower here for our power plant. Everything else is the same. I just kind of let the game run and kind of let everything develop here. So let's go ahead and take a look at our stats here. We're sitting on 52,192 simoleons, and as I said, I did spend quite a bit of that. The clinic and the fire station and the police station are probably about a 50 or 60 thousand simoleons combined. Let's see, just to confirm that. Yeah, the clinic is 20, the fire is 20, and I believe the police is 30. So we did spend a little bit of money there, as well as the couple small upgrades to our school. But for the most part, we're looking pretty strong. We were getting some traffic here. I just now noticed that, so we're going to show you some ways to kind of combat that. And we're going to show you a good way to kind of drive your simoleon bank through the roof. This way you can kind of lead yourself into either a Great Works or the city specialization of your choice. So I hope you all stay tuned for that. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get started here. Now, first order of business, I would have to say, is probably our town hall. Now, once you hit 5,000 sims in your city, you'll actually get an upgrade for your town hall, which would, I believe, make it the city hall. So let's go ahead and take care of that first. It doesn't cost anything to do the upgrade. And now we have a beautiful city hall building. And as you can see there with that little progress bar, we are at 5,805 sims out of 15,000, which of course would be our next tier, our next upgrade, and our next chance to go ahead and add an addition onto our city hall. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. I believe this is probably, this one and the next one are probably the most important moves that you're going to make in your city. If you screw this up, you know, of course you can still sustain a city, but it's going to be a lot more difficult. You've got some choices here. I don't know. It all depends on what you really want to do. The way I'm kind of looking at this here is, if you look at our region, this is our first city in our region. Okay. This is kind of going to be our anchor city for any and all of these other plots. The city hall, these additions here, they actually carry over through all the different cities. So, for example, if I were to lay the Department of Safety here, okay, I wouldn't have to go ahead and add the Department of Safety in my city hall in another city. It would actually be available. So this is extremely important. Sorry, my cat's climbing on my desk. I love it. To make the right decision here, as it's going to help you with all your other cities. So here's our choices. We've got our Department of Education, and as you can see there where it says regional access granted, you've actually got the high school and the university become available, which could be very important with, you know, higher sim cities. Excuse the pun, but yeah, higher sim cities, you know, for example, 300,000 sims, that university and that high school are definitely going to be required. Department of Finance, in my opinion, is probably the least important. All it really does is kind of, when you go in here to your tax brackets, it allows you to kind of finagle both the residential, commercial, and industrial between the three different tiers, low, medium, and high. You know, it could work. I mean, I personally don't think it's that important. There's other ways to make money in this game, so I don't see that being a much of a necessity. Our next one here is the Department of Safety. Very important with larger cities as well. These little, we'll pop back here, these little fire stations and police stations, they don't, I mean, I guess you can spread them amongst the city, but as you start to get bigger, they really just don't cut it. Moving along, Department of Tourism. This is definitely great if you're going to take on the culture or the tourism / gambling city specialization. This one I think you can maybe save till number 2 or 3. As well, and that kind of works hand in hand with the Department of Transportation, as you're going to definitely want to have those train stations and bus terminals to go along with your tourism. And that leads us to our final one, the Department of Utilities. This is the one we're actually going to start with. This is the one that's the most important, in my opinion, to get everything started off right. And again, this is my opinion. If you ask some other YouTuber or someone else that plays the game, they might think I'm crazy. They might want to go with the Department of Finance first. Hey, it's up to you. But this is how we're going to do it. This actually allows us to do the larger water pumping station, the larger sewage treatment plant, and the recycling center, which can actually turn into a pretty profitable there, the recycling center. So let's go ahead. We're going to go ahead and add this, and we're going to have plot points here. It really, I don't know. It doesn't really matter how you do it. I guess we're going to just kind of keep the impact as low as possible. So we'll stick it back here. As you can see now, our city hall has grown just that bit more. And that 15,000 residents is going to come pretty quickly, so I'm not really so worried about it right now. If, for example, you were to pick the wrong one, you got another chance there at 15,000 to make the right decision, so don't sweat it. Okay, so as we stated, we're up about almost 6,000 sims, and we're talking here about how to kind of diffuse some of the issues, as well as make a bunch of simoleons. This way we can fund our specialization of our choice. So what I've gone ahead and chosen is the oil specialization. And as you can see here, we've got some nice deep oil pockets here, and we're going to focus on that just a little bit here. But first off, I was actually getting a little bit of a complaint here as I was watching the city grow. Now, this is our small bit of industrial out here. As you can see, we've actually got an abandoned building, and I left that there just for this purpose. What you're going to start to do, or what you're going to start to have is, depending on how much industrial you lay down, of course, if you put 1 or 2, you're going to be fine. But if you lay a fairly large amount of industrial, and you start to get these messages where it says not enough places to ship freight, you can solve that in 2 ways. You can either add more commercial, which you can see I've done here, or you can go ahead down in here and you can add what's called a trade depot. Now, what the trade depot is going to go ahead and allow us to do, let's go ahead and draw a small road here, and I'm going to show you everybody. We'll just pick a low-density street. It's not... Oops, I don't want to take that out here. I guess we'll just go right along the perimeter here. What the trade depot is going to actually allow you to do is it's going to allow for our industry to stay working at full force, as opposed to going abandoned and going out of business when there's not enough need for the freight. It's kind of like an overflow, I guess would be the best way to put it. We're going to go ahead and lay it down, and we're going to go ahead and edit it now here. The first lot that it comes with, and we're going to move into more of these here in just a moment, especially the oil storage lot, but it's actually going to start you with the one that you need. So we're going to leave it the way it is right now. And what this is going to do, and as you can see, those little smiley faces, our industry is getting real happy here. They're all going to start working hard, and as they deliver to the commercial and as they kind of reach the maximum, they're going to start dumping this into the overflow. And as you can see, we just have some trucks here doing it already. And we're going to keep an eye on this. You have the ability here to add additional freight trucks in case deliveries start to get a little hectic. And as you can see down at the bottom here, there's so many different add-ons here to the trade depot that we'll get into in later game. But to start off with, I would definitely suggest, and you can add more of these as we move along. But I would definitely start off with this. This is actually an excellent idea. We're actually stocking up here, and these we'll see here shortly. These abandoned buildings are gonna start to come back alive. So we'll let that roll here. We're gonna need that anyway for our oil specialization. So that's good. Let's check our funds here. I keep clicking the wrong little tab, but so we're still sitting at 32. And as I see, this is going to kind of be an attempt to kind of pack in some of those simoleons. So what we're going to want to do is let's take a look at our map again, and I think this is the best way to do it. This way we don't have any issues. Now, I went ahead and I did add some residential out here, and we can go ahead and change that. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start with this little area here. These residents here are probably going to have to go, I'll have to say. I know I did add it in, but I wasn't kind of planning ahead. I just wanted to get somebody down here. But let's go ahead and let's take care of them. So we'll go ahead and we'll continue out this road here. Actually, you know what? That might be too close. You're going to see here in a second when we add our oil plant how much of a negative impact it has on land value. So let's do that first. So we're going to go ahead, and here's a chance to kind of get an idea. And I'm speaking to everyone out there that like to watch, of course, but more importantly, the people who maybe just picked up the game and they don't have any idea how to play. So forgive me if I'm kind of taking baby steps here, but I want to make sure I'm thorough. So if you go ahead, for example, and you say, oh, I don't like these houses anymore, and you delete them, okay, great, no big deal, you're good to go. But if, let's say you wanted to save some cash and you wanted to keep this road here, and you wanted to get rid of the houses and you wanted to prevent them from spawning up, you have to use this little D-zone tool. So all you got to do is find the area that you don't want anymore, essentially. We're going to leave that little high residential building there. And you just kind of draw it, just like you're zoning. But what it's going to do is it's going to remove the zone. The buildings will stay, but the zones are going to disappear. So now when we go into our demo tool and we go ahead and we demolish these homes to get them out of here, because they're going to be really mad when we put this oil plant in, they're not going to come back. Let's see. If I hit control, it's going to take out even those commercial buildings, so we don't want that. So we're going to go through here nicely. We're going to clean this all up. I'd hate to have to spend an extra few thousand simoleons in drawing a new road, so we'll go ahead and we'll leave that road there for us. And then we're going to flip back here. We want to make sure our placement of our oil plant is perfect. So let's go ahead and take a look here now. The oil city specialization can be found. Actually, it's called drilling. I keep calling it oil, but it's called drilling. So if you go down here, city specialization, you've got mining number 1, and then you've got oil or drilling number 2. And when you click on that, you actually have our oil well, which is what I've been talking about. And we actually need a little bit of cash. Don't worry, we can actually fix that. What we're going to do, and I had a lot of questions and comments about why didn't I take out a bond in the first one. Bonds are great, but the thing is if you're not sustaining some sort of profit, you're going to run into issues with bonds. Fortunately, kind of with what we're doing here, I'm not so much concerned about that because we're going to start making some real money here pretty quickly. So let's go ahead and let's take out a 50,000 simoleon bond, and it actually breaks it down here. It says pay only 347 per hour. Ends up costing you a total of 55,760 simoleons, which works just like any loan in real life. They give you money, the banks give you money up front, or for a vehicle, let's say, and as you pay it back, and when it's all said and done, you end up paying the bank more money than it's actually worth, or the actual sale price, and that's how the banks make their money. Everyone's happy. The end. So as long as the 347, or as long as this top number here is less than your profit for this particular moment, and it's relatively not a massively fluctuating number, you should be good. Okay? So let's go ahead and let's accept that. The money's immediately in our treasury, and we're good to go here. And this is actually going to go ahead and pay down, and you'll see as that moves forward what exactly is owed. So we now have plenty of room to do our oil well. This is, again, going to help us get through the tough times here. And as far as where you place it, it is a big deal because that little bar there on the bottom will actually show the immediate return. For example, if you were to place it out here, you're only going to net 2.99 thousand barrels. I don't know what that's based off of. If that's based off of per year or what, but as we move it into the darker area, this number here starts to go up dramatically. So I would say when we go ahead and place it, let's go ahead and let's make sure we don't make a mistake here, and let's find that sweet spot, if you will. It looks like our sweet spot is probably one of these here. Yeah, one of these. So bam. Okay, so we're rolling here. As you can see at the top, it says there's oil underground, and the city is doing a fracking. Does that say a fracking thing about it? That's pretty funny. I've never noticed that. So we're now hiring. Let's speed this up a little bit. We've actually been on turtle speed. So we're going to get some workers out here. And as we go ahead and we get this up and running, what we're going to want to do is we're going to slide back over here. And I know this is a little bit of a trek here. We might have some issues with that. And we're going to go ahead back to our trade depot. And this is extremely important. As the oil well does have a tank here, which can hold some surplus, you're definitely going to want more. So let's go ahead and let's add a couple crude oil storage lots to the back here. Okay? And we're going to give that a chance to kind of fill up. And I'm going to show you what we're going to do. Uh-oh, what we got going on here? Okay, not enough places to ship freight. All right, I'm going to show you guys another tip. Let's say I'm over here, okay? Let's say I don't know, I'm putting in a park, okay? And this little icon here is yellow, or you're getting a message that's saying abandoned buildings in the city, or it's even red. When you click on it, it's going to show you rubble, which is where we were just at, and it's going to also show you abandoned buildings. Now, in case you have a big city and you don't know where that's at, I mean, here it's pretty obvious we were just over there. You can actually head over here to where this little guy is, and you see this little icon. There'll either be a red icon or a yellow icon. You can actually just click it, and you're right there. Sometimes this will say 6, sometimes this will say 2, and you'll have to try to... I remember when I first started playing, I'm looking all through the city. I can't find out where it actually is, and this actually helps you out here. So you can go ahead and get rid of the rubble. It's good to get rid of rubble and abandoned buildings as they, lower the land value. And in an industrial area, it's not really that big of a deal. Nevertheless, it is good to get rid of that. So we're actually rolling here. As you can see, our oil pumps are going crazy here. This actually employs 97 people, which is good, because prior to that, we actually were having a little bit of a job crisis here, where there was 190, well, actually more than 192 unemployed, but we've got some extra jobs here. By the way, for those of you that are asking, this is actually the worker data in rollover mod. I actually did a video about it on my channel. I'll actually put that down in the link in the description below. You can get that on Simcity. That was actually the first mod I downloaded. It actually, if you're using a vanilla version of the game and you click this, it's not going to show you this. It's only going to show you like this stuff. This is actually great. It breaks down everything. It breaks down commercial buildings. It breaks down residential buildings. It shows you how many students and how many shoppers live there. Actually, it's just great. So I'll try to link that information down below. It's a great kind of a introductory mod for those of you out there that are interested in it. Okay, so back to this. So as I stated, we've got a tank here. It's actually going to hold up to 2,000 barrels of crude oil, which we're just going to leave the way it is. If we go into edit here, we've got some options. This is with Cities of Tomorrow, an augmented oil pump jack. So don't pay too much attention to that as of yet. Just like the power plant, we can add more oil pumps. We can add more trucks, signs. I guess we can give it a sign, right? Why not? Boom, General Oil Company, beautiful. And we can add more roads here. So, for example, if I wanted to go crazy here and I wanted to connect this out here, look at that. I can actually do that, and the oil trucks will travel along this road here, and I can put oil jacks out here. So you don't necessarily have to put an oil well if, for example, you had oil out here and oil out here. You can actually just connect them with roads. You will eventually hit a point where you run out of room for expansion, which... it is what it is. You'll have to expand, but for the time being, it's kind of good to just use the roads. Okay, so I'm just kind of taking a little break here. Treasury is still looking strong, and as I stated, we've got a little bit of a trade depot surplus pool going on over here, and they won't actually start using the trade depot until this fills up. So we'll give this a chance. It's actually, as you can see, drilling 500 barrels a day. So every day, 550, it's improving. Now, if I go ahead, and for example, I don't want to spend all my money here, but if I go ahead and I add another oil pump, okay, that number there, of course, as you would assume, is going to dramatically go up. So we'll come back to that. It's at 550 a day. You'll see once that gets up and running what's going to happen. Now, we are into it. We are ready to go. This is how you're going to make your money. Now, if you leave everything the way it is just here, the only thing you're going to do is you're going to fill up your oil tanks, and that's it. And then you're going to hit a point where your productivity stops because there's nowhere to push it. There's nowhere to sell it. Your productivity is going to stop. So we're at a good spot right now. We're drilling. We're filling up this oil bay. And then after that, they're going to drive their trucks down here with the oil, and they're going to fill this up. But once everything hits max, if you don't do anything, everything's going to shut down. You're just going to be sitting on a bunch of oil and you're not going to have made anything. You're actually going to have lost money because you're paying operation costs for this and you're paying operation costs for this. Where you're going to make your money is when you go in here and you see this little tab here called Manage Global Market Deliveries. Okay? There's actually a couple tabs. You've got this one here, which is local deliveries of crude oil, is on. That's what we want on because that's going to be local deliveries of our crude oil. It's going to come down here and deliver. So that's good. If you uncheck this, they're not going to use this oil storage lot. They're just going to fill this up and be done with it. Manage Global Deliveries is actually going to show us what we'd like to do with the oil once it is in this lot. Depending on what you're trying to do, if, for example, you are trying to, I don't know, build a great works, or if, like, for example, you'd like to make a bunch of plastic for processors, and your oil, or better yet, your city here doesn't have any oil, you can actually import the oil. We're not going to do that. We're going to export the oil. So we're going to click export, and it's saying you're going to get 9,000 simoleons for every 1,000 barrels of oil. So we're going to leave it the way it is. We're going to allow for the deliveries, the local deliveries, to fill this up. And as we get 1,000 barrels of oil, you're going to see these trucks. They're going to ship it out. And you're going to start, this is where you're going to start making your money. So we'll go ahead and we'll let that kind of develop. And we're going to check some other stuff here. I like to keep an eye on my school in particular. As you can see, 515 students. We're looking strong. We have, I guess, a maximum of 550 here. As I stated in the beginning of the video, I did add an additional node here. So we're actually looking pretty strong there. We can actually hop onto our tab here for our population panel. And as you can see, we still have quite a few unemployed low wealth and a small amount of medium wealth. So what we're going to do to fix that is we're going to go ahead and we're going to add some more industry. Actually have this vacant factory coming in here. So let's see. This actually employs 100 low wealth people. So let's go ahead and let's see what happens with that. I don't want to flood it. What's going on here? I'm not sure why that's... Huh. Not sure why that was flashing, but... Everything looks good. Everything looks good. Actually, our population's gone down quite a bit. I think that's because we gone ahead and we took out the residents here. Okay, that was the other thing I was going to show you. The negative impact of this oil well here. Look at this. So, as you can see, we're actually sitting pretty well here. We'll go ahead and get an overhead view. None of our residents are anywhere near any of this red. This red is just bad news. Now, as we expand this, though, and I don't think we're going to go too much farther out because our oil is sitting right here, but as we expand this, this bubble will grow, and it'll grow, and it'll grow. So we got to be real careful. We got to keep mind to that. But since we did demolish a good part of our sims here, let's go ahead and we can add them back. So we'll draw that road out there. And it all kind of depends on the type of layout that you all want. These checker, block patterns. I mean, you have the little block tool. You can go like that. It's pretty cool. If you like to add a little bit of flair to your city, you know what I mean. You can add like curvy roads and stuff like that, which we're gonna do here. The only problem with this type of stuff is you don't really maximize your city plot with them being relatively small to begin with. You're kind of losing a little bit. I mean, it does look a lot better. Definitely agree with you on that, but it doesn't necessarily pack them in the same way that this brick pattern does. So we'll go ahead and we'll add some of the residential in. We'll add a little bit of commercial there because we don't want the Sims to be traveling, to Kingdom Come here for their groceries. So we'll go ahead and we'll add that in. We'll let that come in. And as I stated in the first video as well, for those of you that checked it out, you don't want to go too crazy with laying down zones. For example, everything's stabilized. Everything is good as of right now. We've got a little bit of unemployed. If you go and you say, oh, look at me, and you want to add like zones all through here, that's great. But as soon as you get people that move in, you're just going to have a boatload of issues that are going to run through it. So I would say just keep in mind that, slowly progressing through the game is always probably the best option, especially when you're first starting off. As you get more experience, you can probably do what you want, just like any other game. So we'll let that come in. My thoughts are we're probably going to start having a little bit of a water issue here. We're Yeah, I see we're at 3.6. We're running this whole city to give you an idea on one water tower. That's pretty amazing to me. So let's take our look at our treasury here. Let's go ahead and let's add another water pump, or water tower, I should say. It's not going to break the bank here, and it's going to prevent us from having any issues. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. And then let's check our power as well. I like to come back to this. We're actually at a deficit here. This is a real problem. So let's go ahead. Let's take a look at this. Let's see what we can do to make this better. Now, I went ahead and I added a second one of those, kind of off camera there. But we can go ahead. This is actually on a little bit of an incline here. Excuse me. I guess we can just add that here. I think we actually have a large turbine. I guess we can maybe put one of those in. We'll check that out. Power production, 5.1 MW in 10-mile-per-hour winds, and this is 3. And this costs twice as much, so it's probably better to add the smaller ones. So we'll add a couple more of these. We'll let those come up. The solar plant will work. I don't know the exact amount, but as you get up to probably 50,000 sims and these buildings start to upgrade, you're probably going to want to swap that out with maybe, in this case, an oil power plant, because we've got a bunch of oil here. We'll get more into that maybe on another tutorial, but for the purpose of this, we're going to keep an eye here on our budget. Now, as we flip over here, you can see here we're actually generating money for crude oil. We've actually made 18,000 simoleons. We've almost paid back a quarter of our debt there, actually pretty much a quarter of our debt, in just a short amount of time. And this will continue to grow. You actually have the ability here to pay off your bond if you just wanted to go ahead and take care of it. But our monthly transactions are a positive of 68,000 sims, so that's great. And this monthly profit transactions is up over almost 100,000 simoleons. So anytime you see green here, you don't necessarily even have to know what the numbers mean or how much you're making. But if you see green, you're good. It'll definitely tell you if you're not doing the right thing. If you're losing cash with the new oil plant, we're actually in pretty good shape. I think for this tutorial, we've gone ahead and we've explained a lot. We've kind of shown you, like I said, how I know everyone out there isn't going to want to do oil, but if you want to be, let's say, I don't know, into gambling or into tourism, these little, I mean, if you look there, the Brandenburg Gate costs 550,000 simoleons. I mean, if you try to go ahead and just run a city and try to just save up 550 grand, I mean, you can, but it's going to take you a while. That's why I'm starting off with drilling here. I'm starting off with kind of explaining to you all how to get that bank full, and then it'll allow you to move into some of these other things like maybe electronics, or most of you, I'm assuming, probably the culture and the tourism. If you wanted to, for example, add, I don't know, a stadium, a pro stadium, 225,000 simoleons. It's going to be very tough to obtain that if you don't take on some sort of small task here like oil or drilling or what have you. Before you get into that. So we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I'm kind of rambling on here. I appreciate all the following. I'm going to leave some information in the description below. The link to the previous tutorial video for this little city here. And B, the information for that worker data and rollover mod. I'll try to find the link on the Simtropolis, and you guys can install it. It's very easy. I actually have another video, I'll link that as well, on how to install that particular mod. So I appreciate everyone for tuning in. Make sure you drop a like for more SimCity, and leave a comment below if you enjoyed this and if you'd like to see future tutorials. Thanks so much. Bye.